Hey folks, rainy day here in the Carolinas. I wanted to show you how I make my worm buckets for worm composting or vermicomposting. I have a couple buckets going for red wigglers. So I have a 2-bucket system. For the first bucket in the bottom, I like to put some pea gravel in and bring the water level up to the surface of the pea gravel. I'm using gravel. It comes from Lowe's. I have tested it for pH and it seems to be pH neutral. So the purpose of this is so that moisture can wick up through the bedding for the worms, and also the upper bucket. When I set it in, I keep a gap here so that airflow can go between the buckets down, and some air can get in through the bottom. So in the upper bucket where I keep my worms, I've drilled a series of holes in the bottom, and then you'll notice inside I've got over the holes I've got newspaper that helps wick the moisture up. Okay, so the bedding that I use to put in my worm buckets, I shred up cardboard, newspaper, and paper, and I mix it in a bucket, put plenty of water in. I also put core log, sawdust, peat, coffee, and black cow manure. I mix all of that together with a drill and a big blender, and then I take that and place it in a bucket and let it drain. That bucket has drain holes, so all the water comes out of it. And then I take a bucket full of water, sit that on there, and it compresses all the water out of the bedding, and basically it turns into this. So what I can do is I can place that in the bucket, kind of loosen it up a little bit. I'll put some probably some dry core log on top of it. Pour in some crushed eggshell. Okay, so this bucket's ready for the next batch of worms. I put the cake of bedding down in the bottom, kind of loosened it up some, and then put some dry core material on top, and then you can see we got a bunch of table scraps, vegetable scraps, some cabbage leaves, potato peel, looks like some apple core. Here's a coffee filter. So we'll be putting the worms in here a little later on. Okay, this is my compost pile. I want to show you what's unique about it. I did start this compost pile, grass clippings and leaves, back in the fall, and it's currently middle of January. I just added the other day some wood mulch that I chipped up with my Yard Beast chipper. You can see the temperature in the compost pile is about 92 degrees. We've been maintaining anywhere from about 70 to 80 degrees. This is a Harbor Freight moving blanket. It absorbs water and it keeps moisture in the compost pile. But what I want to show you is these are my worm buckets, and I've been able to keep the worm buckets on the sunny side of the pile, and between the heat of the compost pile and the sun shining through the Harbor Freight blanket, these worms have been doing quite nicely. Okay, try to get you a close-up. These are red wigglers, and there's quite a few of them on the surface. I'm trying to bait some of these out, so I've got a little bait container in here, and I'll show you a little more what I use to bait them in just a bit. Okay, I just dumped the bait bucket, which is basically, you could use a milk carton. This was almond milk cut in half with some holes punched into it. I do have a few worms in the bait, still a bunch of them in the bucket. So I'm going to go ahead and add these to my new worm bucket. Get them transferred over and see if we can start getting a new crop of red wigglers growing in a new bucket. Alright, fair amount of worms in here. These were red wigglers and I think some European night crawlers. And these buckets have really been going to town. Again, they are outside in the cooler weather here in the Carolinas. Temperatures down 25-30 degrees for brief periods, but mostly anywhere from 40 to 60 degrees. Again, I'm trying to bait some of these out and get them into my new bucket. You see a nice assortment of worms in here. Okay, I dug a hole in the worm bucket. I've got my bait bucket set up, filled with vegetable scraps and coffee on top of it. I'm just kind of setting that in, embedding it to a point where the worms can get into that. Put some old coffee filters on top of it. Cover back on it. We'll see if we can get some more worms out of there.